So for this episode of The Teaching Point, we will be chatting with Jerome, who is a director at World Vision, and he is going to share with us a little bit about what he does and what the team at World Vision encounter, as well as their experiences when reaching and talking to vulnerable or even communities around the world. Hi, Jerome.
Hello.
Okay, so maybe to start things out, could we understand a little bit more about your role in World Vision?
Okay. To understand my role, you have to understand the Singapore office. Around the world, there's about 100 World Vision offices. Some of them are called support office, some of them are called field offices. I am in a support office. Okay. So actually a support office, that our job is to gather resources for the field to use. So some people would call me the fundraising person.
Okay. So we mentioned about resources. Could you share maybe what are some of the resources that you are referring to?
By and large, resource in our world is largely money. Okay, so we move money around between who donates through us to the field. But very often we also would get two other things. One is give in kind. Very similar how we partner in terms of your work with World Vision. Sometimes it's a special skill set. If we are looking for something that we need to use on the field, and for some reason is lacking in the country itself, we would also sometimes fly that into the country.
I see. So I'm glad that you referred to our partnership. So we have been working with World Vision for, I want to say 2 to 3 years right now. So providing books and whatever resources that we're able to. So focusing on education and that being probably one of the key aspects when working with certain populations or even regions. Could you share some of the main challenges that these vulnerable communities or even regions face when it comes down to providing education for their children?
A very mixed bag, but I think I should start off with we are very blessed in Singapore. Education for us is very structured, very complete and well planned. With many of the other countries that World Vision Singapore is involved in, we would end up touching areas where there seemed to be a structure, but nothing really works around there. So let me just talk about a few things. One is, if I am a farmer, it's harvest time, my children don't go to school. We need them because we need their hands. We need them to go and help in the harvest. Sometimes it's just planting the seedlings to start the season of my agricultural season. So it's a need in terms of effort and labor. Then sometimes it's also about the school is so far away. The child walks 5 kilometers, but it's not on a flat ground, it's over hills. And that 5 kilometers can end up to be 1.5 hours. And then by the time the child walks back, I would be very frightened if if I'm the parents, I'll be very frightened whether the child's going to reach home, before dark. There are many other things, cultural. Not so long ago, I'm talking about like less than a year ago, I was up in Vietnam. North of Vietnam, child marriage is still a big thing.
I see.
Yeah, and it's, in my mind, it's a little crazy because I met this girl. I thought she was very smart in the way she was responding. She was speaking in the local language, Hmong. It was translated to me. And then I said, hey, we're going to come here and school should start quite soon since the physical building is here. Then she said, oh, I'm not coming to school anymore. Before that she was. And then I asked her why. I just got married, and she was 13. Yeah, so because of local cultural situations or the way they have practiced life, sometimes these are the things that stops children going to school when they should be going to school, right? And maybe one last thing I want to talk about is this. Nutrition is a big story for World Vision. And then you ask, food and education, what's the big thing? If in the first 1,000 days, we don't eat well, we don't ensure the nutrition is there, physically and sometimes also mentally, we don't develop the same. So I've seen children that are 12 years old but looking like 7, physically they are smaller, and also the way they would respond to you will be quite different. So these things we don't see in Singapore ever.
Yeah.
But the moment you go out to the field for us in World Vision, it is a reality that we live with, even when we're just talking about education.
I think it's also important to highlight that the factors that you have provided are very real situations that sometimes people are not able to get out of. And even if they are, they would take a longer period of time. What do you think is the impact of these challenges upon these children when they finally come into their adult years?
That's the core of what we do. You find that World Vision people talk a lot about community transformation. One of the things that's very iconic for us, you may have already heard of it, is child sponsorship. When we go to an area, we mark an area where we'll be providing help. Our flag actually flies there for 10 to 15 years. We don't go in there for a week and then we feel happy and then we go off. I mean, there is a place for that sort of travel and that sort of interaction with the community. But for us, we are there for very long, up to 15 years in some of the area programs. So when we look at it this way, we actually look at how we change the mindset. Think about it. So same thing, I was out in the field, I spoke to a set of parents where we were only there for less than a year. And I asked the parents like, hey, so what do you want for your children? And dad stands up and says, yeah, they must be good farmers, you know, and very biased to the gender, the girls must be good wives, right?
Okay.
But here lies the problem. If the parents are thinking like that, would they send their child to school? No,
Not likely,
right? And then when I spoke to the children, it is a separate session. When I spoke to the children would say, I want to be like dad, a good farmer, or I want to go to the city to work to help make some money to help my family. But in the work we do, when we transform the community, other than the hardware itself, which could be the water filter, the school, the solar panels to help them, we would also help the children change their mind and open their mind to what is out there. Now, phase out is a word that we use in a very happy fashion, which means when we reach 10 years, 12 years. Phase out means we can leave the community and ensure they can actually survive, have enough to keep going on. So when we speak to the children, they would want to be doctors, they want to be teachers, policemen. Their world is open. And because the world is open, their parents' world is also open. The parents also know that it's unlikely that my child will be farming, and therefore I have to perhaps find better technology to help me to work with 3 people instead of 5 or 7 that I used to have in the past. So mindset change is perhaps the biggest thing that we do when we do community transformation.
I think that's a good point that you pointed out, like in terms of changing the mindset, right? I think behavioral change is always pertinent to the mindset or the person's perspective towards something. Do you feel that this, like between the 10 to 15 years across all regions, I would say that some are more successful than others. So what will be some of the further roadblocks or maybe hesitance towards that progress that you mentioned?
Like anything else, we have a set of tools or weapons you would consider us working in the community. And those are well tested because World Vision is already 75 years old globally. We've tested this many times. The challenge comes with the environment you cannot control. By environment, I would say if typhoon comes every year, this year, typhoon, didn't destroy anything. For next 3 years, didn't destroy anything. But the moment it destroys something really badly, for example, when Typhoon Yagi hit Vietnam last year, it created so much problem that people's entire paddy field is under a meter of mud. Everything, every piece of crop, every piece of harvest that they can think about is gone. That would set back many things. For example, they may have thought that, when we get into this level of production of crop, we can sell some and eat most of it. My children can go to school. Maybe the children cannot go to school now. So by and large, I would say we use the same tools, but every area program is going to be very different, and the field team will also expect it to be very different.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jerome, looking at how World Vision first approaches a community or even when they are looking into a region that might have been highlighted to them, what are the first key steps do you think that the team would look out for, and how would they actually approach the community itself?
Yeah, okay, good question. For us, the very first thing is the children. Many people know us as the largest private children charity in the world. We first look at the children, and if the children is already in a fragile and vulnerable place, that's our starting point. Of course, subsequently, we look at the country, the area, the amount of success that our intervention would be good for this place. For example, we actually then take that on and make a decision. So there is what we call a due diligence process before we select an area to plant a flag to say we want to start working here. But the children is always going to be the one that drives us to think about, should we be here? Yeah.
So as you know, highlighting the needs of the children and looking at, previously you mentioned between a 10 to 15 year program, how would you, or how would the team then strategize and work with community leaders, or I want to say more specifically the decision makers of the community, and how do you plant that seed to ensure that, you know, change is able to start forming within the next few years?
We are very blessed. I think the word is blessed because our name is quite known. There are places that you think that maybe you haven't heard of World Vision, but a lot of people have. So riding on good reputation helps, number one. But on the ground, the first thing to discuss is with the villagers, the village chief. Sometimes a group of villagers, when a certain intervention is better deployed when it's done over a larger area, we always talk to the people. So this is also where a lot of our donors tend to get tripped over from an understanding perspective. They would ask, hey, why didn't you start with water first, like you did for the villages, you know, in the south of this same country? And it's always going to be, oh, because the commune chiefs asked for something else first. And sometimes when we come to, do we build school first or build water filter first? By and large, it seems logical to do water filter first because if the children are having diarrhea all the time, then they come to school, not much use. Just remember, a lot of our work, in the early years of the area program, surrounds the health of the child, surrounds how do we stop stunting, for example, how do we provide clean water, and then it always add up to, now is a good time for us to introduce education into a mainstream conversation. Yeah.
I see. So looking at it, could you possibly share maybe one or two stories, you know, that stuck with you when, you know, looking at working with all these communities on hand?
Yeah, so just recently we had a conversation with the donor, and the donor is very into education and perhaps even infrastructure for education. So asking us when would the school be built and so on and so forth. And my team and I basically explained to him, actually we need to fix the water problem first. Water source around this set of villages is no good. Which means the water table under the ground where the wells will be filled with, it's not clean. So we need to provide a water filtration system. And that water filtration system will take a certain number of months to build. So I can't talk to this donor about an education infrastructure until that takes place. So this sort of conversation happened almost every day for my team. When donors are more concerned with certain type of things. Just last month, someone came to me and talked about, I'm very interested in women's empowerment.
Right.
I'm like, okay, But first we have to stop family violence. Because in that area that we were targeting, it was recorded over 20% of the homes, the households, suffer some form of family violence.
Right.
Whether it is towards the kids or towards the wife, it all comes from frustration with the current situation on the ground, comes from perhaps too much alcohol. But that sort of things needs to be fixed before we have a stable environment to do something else. So it happens all the time in most of the conversation. We don't have a, let's do 1, 2, 3. Sometimes it's 1, 3, and 2 because what's happening on the ground. But come back to your the original conversation. It will always be in agreement and in alignment with whether it's the commune chief, sometimes it's even the provincial chief, if it was, for example, health stations, where to locate them. The provincial chief would have more say because it then complement the kind of other medical infrastructure, healthcare infrastructure they have on the ground, which we may not know about in an entire form. Yeah.
I think that's a good point that you brought up, because usually when looking out from towards looking in, I think people would generally focus on what they want to help. But I think looking at it from a network system, people realize that one impacts the other, and then that can snowball to a more detrimental outcome rather than going about it in a more very specific or modular manner. So looking at that from that perspective, right? Then how do you decide that, or what would be your success factors after a period of time? Like, what are the signs to show that this community is actually improving?
Okay. One thing about World Vision is our accountability to our donors and the system by and large. And what do we mean by that? Every program or every project, it's always defined by where it is, who are we helping, down to how many people we're expecting to help, the type of the intervention described in detail, the kind of output we think we would see when these interventions are done, and then an estimation of some kind of impact over a period of time. So I give you an example. So we recently talked about early education, which really comes down to an early interaction with the child in a very structured format, and this is in Indonesia. And the Indonesian government actually think of it as a necessary step to a better Indonesia, right? So they actually certify early childhood centers in Indonesia itself, and we merge our know-how and our intervention in this. So in a way, we are like the deployment arm, and we are helping the local educational facilities to become early childhood certified in Indonesia. But at the end of the day, you will face difficulties because you will face things that you don't know about before you get on the ground. There are other challenges that will come up, but what is good within World Vision is because we do more than one location. So the best of breed situation would be we can source around to find solutions to some of the problems that we face. Yeah.
Right. So I would imagine that even within a specific country or region, you have several communities with several teams that you're working on. And then so with several teams that you are working on, this would also help you to compare the solutions and then form a bigger solution or a more unified approach to help address different communities in the region itself.
Yes. In fact, I wanted to, when you're asking it, I'm already thinking how would I answer this. And it's because when I first started talking about children is at the center of our intervention, right? So we look for children in vulnerable places, fragile places. Sustainability is built into every single one of our intervention. So when we talk about in 10, 15 years, what do you see as the KPI? The KPI possibly being the child. I spoke about the child being a deputy minister. Many of our children also come back as staff for us.
Oh,
Yeah, so
that's nice.
it's quite amazing that we find in the team people who are previously sponsored children. Now, when we talk about sustainability, we have this plan of 10 to 15 years, not because we think, well, if we stay longer, something happen. It is our way of releasing that care. In 10 to 15 years, we believe in our own experience that we're able to get a community to be sustainable by themselves. What is sustainability? It means that you have learned enough from me. You can run some of these programs on your own. So I'll give you an example. For example, we start off with focusing on women being a pillar, a strong pillar of the community. And it comes from training. It comes from providing certain tasks and duty where they have responsibility to help others. It comes from explaining what education would mean for their children, so they fight really hard in situations where maybe other members of their family say no. Yeah. Now that is like the start. Then after a while it becomes a habit, and then they start policing themselves. Like after a while, I spoke earlier about violence in family. They are reporting on each other like, hey, that family still last night, you know, we think they are having trouble. It is a behavior change started by something we train, something that they think that if they don't do, maybe they don't get the benefit of something. And then over time it becomes a habit. And then they start policing themselves. So that sustainability in our world comes from the 10 to 12 years.
But looking at, you know, the things that I have learned in this very short amount of time speaking with you today, could you maybe perhaps share a key advice or one advice you wish someone would have told you upon, you know, first embarking on working in an NGO or working with communities at large?
A few. I share three. The first one is many of us come in with a preconceived idea what's good, and certainly it would be good, but very often the community is not ready. So first advice is speak to the people you're helping, find out what they want help in, instead of fleshing out the 5 different things that you bring. Perhaps it's irrelevant. I will use the word irrelevant to the current stage of what they want to do. I think earlier I talked about if we check in with the commune leader, align ourselves when we start the area program, we would know where they want some of these activities to start. One example is that in Sioma in Zambia, we just started an area program, and you know, we say, oh, our malnutrition is high and so on. Actually what they want is, can we have some water? Then we realized within 5 kilometers they don't even have a well. Yeah, so the question is, where do they even get the water? I haven't had the answer because I was only able to attend some of the conversation. But the people doing the due diligence for this area, I think that will be aligning with what they want. So that's one. Make sure that you do what they need, what they think they need to do. The other thing is we can get quite frustrated when it doesn't happen correct. And I guarantee you, this is a guarantee, that it doesn't go the way it's supposed to go in most of the intervention deployment. Not because it's wrong, but it's just that local environment, the situation with the children, the conditions with the family, just don't work out the same. So expect the unexpected. Yeah, right? So don't force your way in, check it what they want, expect the unexpected. And I think the last thing is lots of content, lots of knowledge. Still, we find there are situations that we need to partner somebody. So this is the third thing. Be ready to partner someone who actually have the skill set you want, and not necessarily try to build it on your own, or worse, create it from ground zero. I mean, nobody need to reinvent the wheel. The wheel's already invented. But in most cases, we actually have this rule that if someone else does it better than us in that location, and sometimes do it the same but do it cheaper, we go with that partner after we do the due diligence with the partner. So these three things I think could well be used in any of the NGOs, whether locally in Singapore or around the region.
I think that encapsulates our conversation really well, and I think that after conversing with you today, Jerome, I feel that even Marshall Cavendish Education has a lot of similarities in how we approach things. You know, it's usually looking at who are we targeting, what are the school needs or what are the region needs as we expand, and understanding that sometimes if we are unable to provide something, then partnership is the key role in, you know, allowing the solutions to be provided to the students themselves. And with that, I would like to thank you so much for this couple of minutes that we've been chatting. I have learned a lot, and I am very sure that our listeners have definitely learned something as well. So thank you so much.
No, thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. Look forward to more partnership with MCE.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.